no encounter is a coincidence. If these words reach you, it is because an ancient awakening is already pulsating in your inner core. Your mind may not yet understand it, but there is a primordial code woven into the very architecture of reality. The initiates called it the creative word, and it still works today through your every thought, every emotion, every syllable you utter. These are not empty statements or mechanical formulas, but the sacred fire that forges vibration into matter, and you wield it every day, even in ignorance of its power. But what happens when you learn to direct this flame with sovereign intention, when your words cease to be sound to become a sword of light capable of sculpting reality? In this revelation, you will discover why only mature hearts can maneuver this instrument and why the law of the word knows no failure. It only awaits your courage to speak as a creator rather than as a beggar of existence. Do not look away, because what is about to be revealed will forever rewrite your relationship with the divine language that shapes worlds. If at this moment you feel a thrill of recognition, an echo of truth in your gut, leave your seal immediately. That like is not a simple gesture, it is the first word of your new creative language. I will interpret that signal as proof that our connection is not accidental, that you have recognized the spark of the ancient verbal power. But above all, it will be your first conscious act of creation through recognition. The journey begins with a click that is already a spell. Words are, in my not so humble opinion, our most inexhaustible source of magic, capable of both inflicting wounds and healing them. You were created in the image of the Word, not as a symbolic figure, but as a living extension of the same creative vibration. From the first breath, from the first beat of your heart, something inside you carries with it this divine legacy. Yet, almost no one remembers it. The world we were born into did not celebrate this gift. On the contrary, it taught us to doubt it. Since childhood, we have been exposed to a multitude of external voices: parents, teachers, religious figures, television programs, neighbors, friends, systems. Voices that incessantly repeated that we are weak, guilty, sinful, not enough. Little by little, we began to mold ourselves to fit what was expected of us. We copied models, imitated emotions, assumed fears that were not even ours, and without realizing it, we forgot who we were before we learned to obey. If you were born in another culture, you would probably believe in different truths. You would have different fears, different images of God. Maybe you would worship fire, rivers, the sun. Maybe you would meditate from an early age or see yourself as part of the whole. But you grew up where you grew up, and because of that, you inherited a reality filled with guilt, blind obedience, and fear of your own light. Not out of malice, but because everyone around you was copying realities they didn't create. It was the only way they knew how. When they told you that you were a sinner, what they were doing was much deeper than it seems. They were severing your connection with the Word, because those who believe they were born wrong will never dare to speak as a creator. Those who think they carry guilt, fear, or inadequacy cannot use their words with faith. The word withdraws when the soul is ashamed of itself, and that is when the disconnection comes. The word that should flow naturally begins to come out as self-criticism, judgment, complaints. Words become reflections of fear, and fear, once ingrained in language, becomes a vibrational pattern. This is why so many people feel stuck. They keep verbalizing everything that is holding them back. These beliefs are not just ideas. They are codes that have been installed in you without your consent. They dictate what you believe you deserve, what you think is possible, how far you will go. And the scariest part is that they hide in the smallest things. In the way you apologize for existing, in the fear of shining too brightly, in the habit of making yourself smaller so as not to disturb others. If you grew up believing that talking about yourself is selfish, that wanting more is a sin, that trusting your intuition is pride, then your connection to the creative word has been blocked from the beginning, not because it has ceased to exist, but because you have been convinced that you are not worthy of using it. And this is one of the most silent forms of spiritual imprisonment. The good news is that the word has never been lost. It has just remained silent, waiting for the right moment to be remembered. But before it can emerge with strength and clarity, you must identify what is still blocking your expression. And these blocks almost always take the form of beliefs, inherited, copied, repeated like unconscious mantras that build invisible walls around your power. The code that reveals the secret of the word. And this is where something begins to reveal itself. Because if you were disconnected from the word as a child, programmed to silence what you heard and repeat what you were told, there is a dormant force within you that has never been erased, only silenced. A force that pulsates beneath all inherited beliefs, all emotional blocks, and all unconscious fears. And this force is directly connected to a word that you know, but have never truly understood. It has been said thousands of times in movies, magic tricks, and children's pranks. You have heard it and maybe even repeated it without knowing that you are saying a fragment of one of humanity's oldest vibrational formulas. A word that, contrary to what it seems, was never created to entertain but to create, to command, to open portals. A word hidden in plain sight, and because of this, almost no one recognizes it. But it is still alive, and it carries with it one of the lost keys to true spirituality. An ancient code that, before being ridiculed by modern culture, was sung in temples, in secret rituals, in mystery schools where the word was understood as sacred technology. This word comes from Aramaic, a root language that even precedes Biblical Hebrew, and whose structure is not symbolic. It is vibrational, a living language born from the frequency and geometry of sound. And this code, when pronounced correctly, activates the bridge between thought and matter. It is the passage between what still exists in the higher realms and what you wish to manifest here and now. But this code has been hidden, distorted, because those who understand the power of the word know that he who controls the word controls reality. That is why knowledge has been diluted, replaced with distraction, superficiality, and noise. The word has become a trick, vibration has become a show, and the word has lost its origin in the mouths that have forgotten how to speak to the soul. But the initiates have always known that this word was not a joke. It was a key, a command, a reminder of who you truly are. And even now, at this very moment, it is still vibrating between the lines of reality, waiting for you to recognize it, to remember it, because this word does not act alone. It needs intention. It needs a prepared body. It needs a compatible vibrational field. And when all of this aligns, when heart, mind, and word synchronize, the word becomes a sharp arrow that pierces the invisible planes of existence. Break through layers, dissolve blocks, and begin to shape reality around you. And that word is Abracadabra, yes. But before you think it's just a simple expression or something too mystical to apply to real life, understand this. In ancient Aramaic, Abracadabra means, I create as I speak. And it's not poetry, it's a map, a vibrational password, a reminder that your voice is a creative tool, that every time you open your mouth, you're sending commands to the invisible field, and that the universe, as a living consciousness, responds to the frequency of what you are vibrating while you speak. That is why it was used in rituals, in healing practices, in magic circles, in deep processes of manifestation. The ancients sang Abracadabra like someone activating an access code, like someone opening a crack in time, because they knew that this word carried within it the most ancient code of creation, the word that creates reality. But now you know, Abracadabra has never been magic for children. It has always been magic of the spirit, and it is still active, still resonating, still responsive, but only for those who dare to speak to an awakened soul. But why exactly did the ancients use this word in moments of spiritual transition? What happened in the body, mind, and spirit when it was spoken with pure intention? Because the word, when not supported by an intact vibrational field, loses its creative power and becomes only noise. And that is precisely why the ancients treated the word as a ritual. They knew that sound was not just sound. It was a portal, an energetic movement, a key to transition between states of consciousness. Not just any word was spoken in any way. There was preparation, there was silence before the sound, there was alignment before the expression. They did not use words as simple tools of expression. They used them as tools of transformation, especially in moments of transition, in rites of death, rebirth, initiation, healing, and crossing between worlds. In those moments, the word became a blade and a bridge. It cut the old and inaugurated the new, and because of this, it could not be used lightly. When an initiate was guided through a true spiritual school, he did not begin by speaking. He began by listening, observing, emptying himself, because only after the body had been cleansed of noise, the mind quieted, and the heart centered, could the word be used with true intention, and it is then that the word became an act of power. When everything inside the being, body, emotion, mind, and soul, vibrated in unison with what was about to be spoken. The ancients knew that the word does not act alone. It needs the body as a temple, the mind as a channel, and the soul as a source. When someone spoke a code like Abracadabra, for example, they were not simply speaking. They were chanting a sequence of sacred sounds whose vibration activated very specific energetic layers inside and outside the body. Sound activated energy points, breath guided life force, body posture anchored presence, and intention maintained direction. It was like shining a flashlight in the dark. If you're not ready to hold the light, it blinds you. But if you are, it illuminates the next step. These moments of spiritual transition, like rites of passage, healing practices, or deep meditations, were actually points of vibrational reprogramming. And the word was the attunement tool. When spoken with truth, it didn't just resonate in the air. It reorganized the subtle fields, cleared interference, and updated the energy grid of the being. You may not have thought about it, but you felt it. You heard someone say something so true, so profound, so aligned with the heart that your skin stood up. Your eyes filled with tears, your body reacted. It's not poetry, it's the word in its purest state. It's sound that passes through invisible layers, touching deep cores, resonating with something inside you that already knew but had forgotten. That is why the ancients reserved certain words for sacred moments, because they knew that the word was both instrument and result. It was used to transform the external world, but also to reshape the internal one. Every sound uttered with awareness was a thread thrown between who you are and who you choose to become. But what vibrational structure must be present for the word to truly become a bridge? And how do you begin to build this inner state where the word aligns with the reality you wish to create? The truth is that many people continue to speak, pray, affirm, ask without realizing that they do not yet have access to the inner state necessary for the word to cross the realms and become reality. It is not enough to repeat beautiful words if they come from a fragmented place. It's not about aesthetics of speech, it's about vibrational integrity. And this is where the ancients revealed one of the first laws of true alchemical method. Be impeccable with the word. But what does it really mean to be impeccable? Many think it means perfection, always saying the right thing, never making a mistake. But that's not the case. Impeccable comes from without sin. And in the original sense of the word, to sin means to miss the mark, to be out of alignment with one's essence, to use the word against one's creation. So being flawless is not about being ideal, but not sabotaging yourself with your language. Every time you complain about life, you reinforce scarcity. Every time you belittle yourself, even jokingly, you reinforce limitation. Every time you say, I can't, I'm not capable, I've tried everything, you activate a vibration of defeat that becomes your pattern. The word does not understand irony. The universe does not respond to your mood, but to your frequency. The word is literal. It realizes what it receives. And if it receives pain, frustration, anger, or fear, that is what it molds into reality. Constant complaining, for example, works like a repetition spell. Every time you focus on what is wrong, you re-energize that scenario with your own word. You are saying to the universe, keep me here, give me more of the same. And it does, because you have given it permission, because you have been vibrating at a frequency that does not correspond to what you truly want. And this is where the real training of the word begins. It is not just about changing the words, it is about changing the field that produces them. It is about breathing before speaking, listening to yourself before expressing yourself, recognizing that inside you there is a space that commands everything that comes out. And if that space is hurt, bitter, or unconscious, no positive sentence will manifest anything with coherence. The word must come from a whole place. It must carry truth. When you say, I am prosperous, with a light heart, a focused mind, and a present body, that phrase is not just a sound. It is a vibrational code that hooks into the physical plane and begins to rearrange your reality. But if you say it while feeling fear, doubt, or shame, the universe doesn't read the word, it reads the field, and the field is saying, I am not ready. That's why so many speak but so few manifest, because they continue to use the word without awareness. They use their mouths without first aligning their hearts. They use learned, copied sentences that have not been integrated, and the word without a soul has no power. It dissolves into the air like smoke that never touches the ground. Being impeccable with the word is not a moral concept. It is a vibrational practice. It is an internal position that says, from this moment on, I will only say what I can support. I will only affirm what I am ready to live. I will only speak out loud what my entire field can support without breaking. But for this to happen, intention alone is not enough. There is a specific point in the body, an ancestral energy center that must be awakened. A portal that, once activated, transforms the word into the quintessence of power. And that exact point in the body, that subtle gap through which the word acquires truth, is not in the throat as many imagine, nor in the mind that rationalizes every sentence. It is lower, deeper, more silent. It is in the pulsating energy center in the center of the chest, known in many traditions as the spiritual heart or the heart chakra. It is there that the word becomes a living frequency. It is there that sound becomes true intention, not just noise. When the word comes only from the mind, it brings logic, but it does not bring life. It may sound beautiful, coherent, even intelligent, but it lacks vibrational power. It is like a well-tuned instrument, but not connected. On the outside it looks ready, but inside it is off. The mind organizes the form, but it is the heart that ignites the energy behind it. It is the heart that gives the word the tone of creation, the weight of presence, the vibrational signature that connects it to the universe. The heart is more than an organ that pumps blood. It is a center of energetic intelligence. It has the largest electromagnetic field in the human body, much larger than that of the mind. It is from there that you feel the truth, the intuition, the love, the empathy, the trust. And that is why, when your speech comes from that point, it carries with it a vibration that crosses layers. It resonates with the essence. It reaches others, space, time, and returns. It is in the heart that the soul shows itself without filters. It is from there that the shivers come that no one can explain. The emotion that chokes your voice, the tear that falls when you hear a truth that seems spoken only for you. Because the heart does not speak from the outside in, it speaks from the inside out. And when you speak from the heart, you do not need to shout or convince. The vibration speaks for you. That is why the ancients paid so much attention to the preparation of this center before any sacred practice. They knew that if the heart was closed, wounded, or numb, the word would not find a way out. The word would have been just an empty echo. The manifestation, unstable. Because it is not the sound that creates, but the truth behind the sound. And truth can only arise from an awakened heart. An awakened heart is not a perfect heart. It is a heart that feels, that allows, that recognizes what is vibrating before it throws words into the world. that remains silent when in conflict, that observes when in pain, who speaks when he is present, because this center is the bridge between the high and the low, between heaven and earth. It is where divine inspiration becomes an impulse for the material world. When the word passes through the heart, it becomes a fertile seed. Each word becomes a vibration with a clear destination, and it is here that creation begins to follow a higher order, your very essence vibrating in tune with everything. That's why speaking from the heart doesn't mean being poetic or sensitive. It's an energetic necessity. It's what separates what sounds good from what truly creates. And you don't have to be a mystic to feel it. You've probably noticed when someone says something and you feel it's true, even if the words are simple. Or when someone says exactly what you want to hear, but you feel like there's no soul behind it. It is the field of the heart that speaks. It is what translates the invisible into a vibration that touches. When the heart and the word meet, something aligns, a center awakens, and it is not just the sound that changes. The entire being falls into coherence. In that moment, the word stops being just expression and becomes creation. And it is in this fusion between vibration and truth that something hidden begins to emerge. Something that the ancients called quintessence. And when that vibration passes through the heart and finds a field ready to receive it, something begins to move inside. A sort of invisible fire that does not burn, but purifies. An impulse that does not come from the mind or from common emotions. It comes from an older, more silent place. A subtle presence that has always been there, but that few recognize. It is what the initiates called fifth essence. The fifth element, the spirit in its purest state. Earth, air, fire, and water are the elements of matter, the pillars that support everything we can see, touch, measure. But the fifth element you cannot see, you cannot weigh. You feel it. It is the breath that gives life to form, the center that unites all the others. The vibration that flows through the four and transforms them into something higher. And unlike the other elements, it does not come from outside. It is within. It is in you. This essence is what the ancients sought to awaken in their most sacred rituals. It was not about mastering the external elements, but about lighting the fire within. The water of intuition, the air of the mind, the earth of the body, and the fire of will only align when the fifth element, spirit, manifests as awakened consciousness. It is the spirit that unifies, that orders, that supports. You feel this presence when you are completely present, when time seems to stop, when something inside you recognizes the eternal in the moment, when your actions are no longer reactions, but expressions of something that comes from within, when your speech stops repeating formulas and begins to transmit truth. In that moment, you are vibrating the quintessence. It is in your fingers, in your breath, in the light of your eyes. When you speak with the soul, it is in your posture. When you decide to stop bowing to old stories, it is in the strength of silence. When you no longer feel the need to prove anything, it shows itself as courage, as clarity, as a calm that does not depend on circumstances. The ancients represented this power as a five-pointed star pointing upward. Each point symbolized an element, with the top one representing the spirit that commands the other four. This star was not a symbol of external worship. It was a reminder that the power of the spirit begins when you gain mastery over your internal elements. But this quintessence is not activated in chaos. It does not appear in haste, in automatic speech, in emotions that overwhelm us. It arises when everything inside you aligns. When the body is rooted, the mind is quiet, the emotion is clean, and the word is alive. From that point on, you no longer react as before. You create, direct, shape. It is subtle but firm. When it awakens, it does not shout, it supports. It does not impose, it radiates. It is the presence that speaks before words, the vibration that precedes action. It is the spark that reminds you, deep in your chest, that you did not come here just to survive, but to manifest, to give form to the invisible that has been pulsing in you since before you had a name. And perhaps you have never heard it spoken of in this way. Perhaps you have felt it in moments of extreme clarity, of unexpected peace, of love that did not depend on anyone. In those moments, you were vibrating the quintessence, and even if you forgot it, it never left you. It was just waiting for the moment when you would stop trying to control the world with your eyes and start feeling it with your soul, the tree of life and the hidden path from the word to reality. And it is precisely when that inner star begins to shine, when the quintessence awakens and the word hooks into the heart, that something even deeper is revealed. Because no true creation happens only on the physical plane. Everything you want to experience must first traverse an invisible path, a path that cannot be seen with the eyes, but can be felt and traveled with awakened awareness. And the ancients knew exactly how that path worked. In the Kabbalistic tradition, this journey is represented by a sacred map, the Tree of Life. More than a mystical symbol, it is an accurate representation of the journey of energy from the higher planes of existence to the densest point of physical reality. Each sphere on the tree, each path between them, represents a step in that downward movement. For the word to manifest, it must follow this path. It must be born as an idea, transform into emotion, take mental form, find vibrational expression, until it finally becomes matter. But that path is not automatic. It requires pure intention. It requires that the word, as it leaves you, be connected to an inner structure capable of supporting it. Because the energy that descends through the worlds needs to find a body capable of receiving it, a mind ready to integrate it, an aligned heart to guide it. Otherwise, it gets lost along the way. It dissolves before it arrives. And what seemed like a sincere desire never manifests. Not because you didn't deserve it, but because the path was interrupted somewhere along the way. In Kabbalah, this movement of energy is divided into 4 worlds. The world of emanations, where everything is just essence. The world of creations, where ideas take shape and potential. The world of formations, where structures are drawn in the energy field. And finally, the world of actions, where matter manifests. Your word must pass through all these worlds for something to truly be born on the physical plane, and each stage requires a corresponding level of awareness on your part. When a word is spoken in haste, in fear, or in contradiction, it can reach the first worlds, but it cannot sustain itself to the end. Desire arises, but has no form. Form emerges, but has no foundation. And the result is what many people feel, that feeling of always wanting something that never becomes real, because the word has gone out, but it has not completed the journey. That is why the true method of manifestation, what the alchemists called the inner work, does not begin on the outside. It begins with the alignment between the planes within you, with your ability to be a channel for that energy, to follow the same path described by the Tree of Life, from the invisible to the visible, from the spirit to the action, from the word to the result. This is where alchemy reveals its essence, not control, but perfect resonance between thought, emotion, word, and existence. The more you penetrate this mystery, the more you understand that manifestation does not arise from shouted desires or recited formulas. It arises from your daily vibrational signature, from the silence that speaks louder than words, because the universe does not obey your wishes, but reflects your inner coherence. No chance has brought you here. The word has never stopped creating. It was just waiting for you to be ready to support its power, for your soul to be clear enough not to distort the divine message. Now you no longer speak. You embody. You no longer experience. You remember. If you have reached this point, you recognize the sign. It's up to you. If these words have lit a fire that you cannot put out, leave a like as a seal of eternity. Write in the comments, "My voice is a creative verb," and let it be your first act of conscious manifestation. Sign up if you recognize in this space the reflection of your potential. Here, every syllable is a return to the origin. I give you the audacity to pronounce only fruitful truths and the wisdom to listen to your deepest silence. We will meet where words are born before they are even pronounced.